Brigadier Rule, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honour to be invited to address this audience on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the arrival of General MacArthur in Brisbane. And what an appropriate title you've chosen for this event, General Douglas MacArthur, Agent of Change. MacArthur is one of the heroes of a book called The Puritan Gift, which my brother and I wrote some years ago. I am pleased to say that it has gone through hardback, paperback and Kindle editions since then. In November it will be the subject of an edition in Mandarin to be published by Oriental Press of Beijing. Oriental Press is the publishing house of the People's Republic of China. This will be followed by editions in Japanese and other languages. Why is Asia so interested in our book? The answer takes us back to the role of General MacArthur as the effective ruler of Japan from 1945 to 1951, and beyond that to the basic thesis that inspired our book. We believe that the United States rose to be the greatest power on earth essentially because of the excellent managerial culture which the Puritan migrants brought to North America in the 1630s. You will recall that there had been two earlier colonizations. The Jamestown settlement of 1607-8 and the expedition of the Pilgrim Fathers to Massachusetts in 1620. In the first of these events, fewer than 150 people were carried in two ships. In the second, fewer than 100 were carried on one ship, the famous Mayflower. Both of these colonizations were underfunded and ill-planned. Unsurprisingly, both turned out to be disasters, half or more of the colonists dying of starvation or disease within 18 months. Then came the Puritans in a brilliantly planned and adequately funded operation that brought 14,000 souls on 200 ships over a period of 10 years and laid the legal, moral and social foundations of the future United States. This migration was a masterpiece of management from which important lessons can be learned today. In our view, the managerial culture which the Puritans brought to America would evolve across the centuries to reach a peak of excellence at the midpoint of the 20th century, when it found its fullest expression in the industrial corporations that we call great engines of growth and prosperity, or great engine companies for short. You are all familiar with their names: IBM, Standard Oil of New Jersey, American Telephone, General Motors, and so on. We argue that these companies combined extraordinary commercial skills with a sense of their relevance and importance in society. They most certainly did not think that they existed only to generate profits for investors and bonuses for senior executives. It is at this point that we encounter General Douglas MacArthur, first in his role as Supreme Allied Commander in the Pacific during the Second World War, and second and more importantly, as the effective ruler of Japan during the US occupation of that country. You will recall that after the First World War, the victorious Allies set out to punish Germany by dismantling its industries and enforcing the payment of reparations. This approach bred such resentment in Germany that it became one of the causes for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Second World War. The Allied powers learned their lesson. After the Second World War, a handful of war criminals were prosecuted and executed. But the Allies did not try to punish the German or the Japanese people as such. Instead, they set out to build stable, prosperous societies in those countries in place of the dictatorships which had gone before. The Japanese and German people responded constructively to this approach, thanks to an exercise in cooperation between victors and vanquished. Germany and Japan today rank among the world's leading democracies and most prosperous societies. In the course of the US occupation, almost every aspect of Japanese life would be transformed. The rule of law was restored, the farmland distributed to peasants, wealth in general redistributed, human rights such as freedom of speech and of the press guaranteed, women's suffrage introduced, and a divine ruler converted into a constitutional monarch. Roosevelt's New Deal would have a profound effect on the social order that emerged. Indeed, some have argued that it made an even greater impact on post-Japanese society than it ever made on the United States. It follows that MacArthur was not only a successful military commander, he was also a great populist reformer whose metaphorical footprints can be seen all over Japan and indeed all over Asia to this day. His activities were governed by a secret directive numbered JCS 1380/15, issued by the US Joint Chiefs of Staff, paragraph 25 of which prescribed that he was to show favour to policies, and I quote, that permit a wide distribution of income and ownership of the means of production and trade. That chief executives of large Japanese companies are today paid only 11 times the average wage is in part due to him. The wages, the comparable American figure is 475. Germany enjoys the next lowest multiple, 12.